This is the Carty Method Podcast.
Well, hello, everybody. Welcome to another edition of the Carty Method Podcast. Today, we are doing something very different. Normally, I would be doing photo reviews on a Thursday, but today's my birthday. So we are doing something different. We're doing a very special AMA, Ask Me Anything stream. I'm going to be telling you guys some stories, starting with how I started photography, how I became a photographer, and some craziness along the way. I'm also, of course, here to answer any questions that you may have. And the reason, again, we're doing no photo reviews today is because our pro level assignments that we do on Thursdays, we're now making it so you have 2 weeks to deliver that assignment rather than one. I asked you, and you said back, yes, that would help so much if I had 2 weeks to do a Converse ad or 2 weeks to do a Nike assignment. So we're moving now to a 2-week cycle. So this is like, we'll call this a bump week, where next week, Thursday, I'll look at your Converse assignments. If you hang out with me to the end of today's episode, I will remind you what the assignment is, not next week, but the week after next week. Just got to get my notes ready. And of course, again, remind me to tell you what the assignment is. I do know what it is. It's strategic imperfection. That is what the assignment is for the week after the Converse assignment. So I'm very interested in you, very interested in where you guys are from, very interested in how you found me. Of course, please feel free to drop what city, state, country you're in chat. I like to hear where you're from. And everybody who's here watching me live, I appreciate you. Tori, thank you for the birthday wishes. And LET, Dusty Struggles, Michael Steinmetz, Courtney and Liza, and Kyle and Illumina, Graves, Raymond. Thanks everybody for the happy birthday wishes. I appreciate you guys all for being here. And if you're watching this after the fact, thank you for being here, and thank you for watching the replay of my lives. So I like talking a little bit about how I found photography, because I don't get to share that part of me very often. I started taking pictures when I was 14. My older brother, Les, who's a great supporter, my older brother, who's 8 years older, is a fine art painter and award-winning, won like art awards when he was in school. He was a photorealistic, and he is still. It's not, I can't talk about him in past tense. He's a photorealistic painter, and I couldn't paint or draw very well, although for the average person, I draw pretty well, but compared to my brother, not even close. So when I was 14, in 1984, when I was 14, it was mandatory that all dads bought 35 millimeter cameras. If you were a dad and it was the mid 80s, you had to buy a 35 millimeter camera. Like, there was a memo. Even if you didn't know how to use one, you had to get one. It was just a rule, apparently. So my dad came home with a 35 millimeter camera, didn't know how to turn it on, didn't know how to put the lens on, didn't know how to load film, focus, expose, anything. It was the first time I had ever seen a 35 millimeter camera. But I loaded the film, put the lens on, turned it on, put the battery in, figured out when it's in the middle, that's the perfect exposure, shot a couple of pictures, and then I passed the camera to my dad, and I'm like, have fun. So week later, my dad takes the roll of film to the camera store and gets it developed, and he comes back and he hands me those like test shots that I did on that roll. And I look at these test shots and I'm like, that's exactly what I saw. In focus. And like, so I was thinking to myself, well, my brother's crazy for spending weeks, months on a single painting, or when I can just click, here it is. So that was my mentality really early on when I was 14. It was a creative outlet, photography. Then I go to high school. I went to a high school. Rather than starting in high school in grade 9, I did what we have here is called junior high. So it's like it was 7, 8, and 9. Now my high school had grade 9, but I opted to be like a grade 9 in my junior high rather than being a grade 9 in a high school. So when I got to high school in grade 10, I saw that they had a photography program. I'm like, oh, easy, bird course. I know how to take pictures. I didn't take it seriously at all. So took the course. It was presented by a teacher named Catherine Yamashita, who I still know and still follows me and still watches this podcast. And like, it's crazy because, you know, it's from my teen years and she's long since retired, but she's followed my career for 35 years. So Catherine Yamashita was my teacher. I learned how to shoot black and white and process. And I was 14 when I saw like an image come up in the developer, 14 for the first time. And it was like, I was hooked, especially because photography was a process. Like you had to shoot and you were shooting film and you had to do a chemical reaction with developer and stop, bath and fixer and rinse and like to get a negative. And then you'd put the negative in this other machine called an enlarger and you'd make prints on photographic paper that you couldn't expose to light. Like it was such a process. Thanks, Nick. Appreciate you, bro. It was such a process of printing and learning how to print that in grade 10 photography, I fell in love with photography. Didn't shoot yearbook because I wasn't cool. I was like, I played hockey and like, you know, so grade 10 and 11, I start really, Mike, you're killing me, my guy. In grade 10 and 11, I really start getting into photography. And in grade 11, my teacher brings me American Vogue. She brings American Vogue. And I said, what's this? And she's like, that's a magazine. It's a fashion magazine. It's called Vogue. There's photographers who make those photos. That's a job. And I'm like, that's not a job. No, for real, it's a job. And I'm like, you're telling me that these photographers get paid to shoot these models and travel to these locations? Yes, and they get paid very well. So from that point, when I heard fashion photography was a job, was a career, that was all I thought about. I was 17 years old and I was in grade 11, I think. So photography, I started shooting my friends and anyone I thought was cute. I was shooting pictures. There was one girl who had an agency who was in my high school and like shot some pictures of her. And before I knew it, my photography teacher tells me, I think that you're a photographer. You're a photographer. You should be a photographer. Like my photography teacher, Catherine Yamashita, told me I should be a photographer. Crazy. So 17 now, Christmas, I'm 17 years old. I'd been using my dad's camera for 3 years. My parents, by the way, I don't come from money. In case you think I'm like a silver spoon or something, I don't come from money. My parents are factory workers. My dad had grade 7 education. My mom had grade 9. And like they went to school in like a one-room schoolhouse. Like the racism in Canada in the 50s and in the 40s were like rampant. It was at the same like everywhere. Yo, Oki, back. Let's go. Oki, 22 months, my guy. You're 2 months away from a year. 2 years. Let's go. 2 years. So I started to like my parents, when I was 17 at Christmas, they worked, like they bought me a camera body and a 50 millimeter lens. Literally like in 1987, that was like $700. And my parents worked for like 6 months, both of them doing overtime to afford to be able to buy me that camera. Crazy. 17 years old. I told my parents, I'm going to cry if I can tell you the story. I told my parents that camera was going to be my career. I promised them that I was going to be a photographer because they invested so much of their time and their money that was very hard earned and slow earned to buy me my first camera. 17. So from then, now my trajectory really, because I have my own camera, my trajectory really started to go. I was shooting with a 50 millimeter. I was shooting black and white. I was processing my own stuff. And that brings me to graduation. I also applied to photography school. I applied to photography school when I was in grade 12, but I withdrew my application because I was scared that I was going to get rejected. I was so scared that I wasn't going to get into this school that I actually withdrew my application. So I decided, instead of going directly to photography school, because I was so shy and awkward, I decided that I was going to work in the industry and try to get a job at a camera store so I could learn how to talk to people and learn how to sell myself. So I got a job at a camera store between high school and university. I took exactly 1 year off, and I started like really learning how to talk to people. I became quickly like the best salesperson at this camera store. It was called Black's Cameras, and they gave me my own store. Well, I was in TD Center, like a really busy store. Became the manager of that store in 6 months. Then they promoted me and gave me my own store, like at Yonge and Eglinton. And I was like a guy who wore a tie. I was 19, wearing a tie, going to work every day, full time, working in photography, but I was working at a camera store. Now, I was 100% a photographer. Every weekend I was shooting, evenings I was shooting. And during the time that I worked at a camera store, wearing my tie and button down and like, soft shoes, I decided I'm going to start going to see legit modeling agencies. So I make an appointment with this modeling agency that will go unnamed. And I'm like, I have on my lunch, I'm like, I'm going to go see this modeling agency. It's like just around the corner from like the camera store. So I bring my portfolio and I show, and again, thank you, William. Thanks, everybody. Thanks, Nick. I bring my portfolio, which again, I had started, I'd never shot agency models, okay? Except for that girl in high school. I'd never shot agency models. I shot my friends that I thought were models, okay? And that was my portfolio. I love photography. So I go into an actual modeling agency with this portfolio of my friends in a suit and tie, because I work at a camera store. And the agent comes out and she's like, "Can I help you?" I'm like, "Hi, I'm Steve Carty. I'm a photographer. I'm a fashion photographer." She's like, "Okay." And then she's like, "Do you have a portfolio?" I'm like, "Uh-huh." So I pass her my portfolio, and it's like some stupid like zipper fucking huge, like not even a photography portfolio, like some art book, blah, blah, blah. So she opens my book and she goes, she laughed into my portfolio, laughed out loud. And she said, "Oh my God." And she said, "Wait here." She took my portfolio, she left, she walked into the back boardroom where all the other agents were. And then I heard all of them laughing, all of them. 12 ladies in the back laughing at my portfolio. Oh my God. Oh my God. Oh my God. And then she comes out, she closes my book, she zips it, she passes it to me. She's like, "Whew, that was hilarious. Thank you. Needed that." And she walked away. She said, "That was hilarious. Thank you. I needed that." And then she walked away. So I just like took my portfolio and like, I'm 19 years old. This was like squashed me like a bug. My first experience in the agency and first experience in the industry fucking squashed me. Hey, thanks for subscribing. So Sims, welcome. So I have another appointment that afternoon. I have I made one appointment. That was the first one. I have another one at the same day. So I have by the way, there's no cell phones, no internet. This was 1989. Okay. No cell phones, no internet. So I have the payphone in my hand. to cancel the second meeting because there's no way I just learned my portfolio was laughable. No real models, just my friends. Laughable. Okay. I just realized that my photography was laughable. And I had a second meeting with another agent in the afternoon. Had the phone in my hand to cancel. There's no way. But you know what I did? I hung the phone up. And I went to that second meeting. Okay? Another modeling agency up the street. I literally now, I know my portfolio sucks. I have another meeting. So, I go. I go to this meeting, and the lady's name is Celia Sears because I can say her name because Celia changed my life. Celia was a new agent, and I have to, Celia is black, and Celia was like the only black agent in Toronto. The only one. And I didn't know she was black. Her name was Celia Sears. She didn't know I was black because my name is Steve Carty. Okay? So I go into the meeting. She looks at me. She's like, hey. I'm like, hey. Are you a photographer? Uh-huh. Let me see your portfolio. Okay. I pass her my portfolio. She opens it. She's like, wow. She looked at one picture and she said, have you ever seen a portfolio before? She asked me that question. Hey, Just Life, all the way from Zimbabwe. I appreciate you, man. One love. Thank you for being here. Every man's got a right to decide his own destiny. So, I decided that I was going to do this meeting. I see Celia. Okay. I go see Celia. Celia says, there's no black photographers in Toronto. Like zero. I've never seen another black photographer. I've never seen a black. There's one black. His name's Michael Chambers. He doesn't shoot fashion. And again, this isn't about race, but this is at that time when I started photography, photographers didn't look like me. Okay. Gordon Parks was the only black photographer and the first black photographer who ever shot for Vogue. Eric, thank you. First black photographer, Gordon Parks, who shot for Vogue. So I go to the second agency. She asked me, have you ever seen a portfolio? I say, no, I've never. She's like, you've never seen a model portfolio before? She pulled off the shelf a model portfolio. She's like, here, this is one of my girls, Sarah. She pulls Sarah's book down. She throws it down. I open Sarah's book. I swear to God, butterflies flew out of this girl's portfolio. Eric, thank you so much. I appreciate you, my guy. Thank you. Eric with the donation. Eric, I appreciate you very much, my guy. Thank you. I'm going to give you a little virtual smoke. Thank you for your $5. I open this girl's portfolio and angels and butterflies. Rafael Ortiz, man, thank you. Yo, that's insane. $1 for each year. This guy just super chatted $55. Rafael, let's fucking go. Thank you, Rafael. Your generosity is unmatched. Thank you. I really appreciate you, my guy. I'm hard as fuck on you. I'm so hard on you. But the reason is because you're so fucking talented and I believe in you, man. I believe in you. You're so profound, my guy. I just want to help you catch up with your future self, Mr. Rafael Ortiz. I appreciate you so very much. Thank you for being here. So after the angels and butterflies fly out of this girl's book, after I see one photo, I turn the next page and I'm like, got it. This girl's portfolio is so sick and it is such a gap from where my photos are that I feel like I'm going to throw up. in this meeting. And she says this, do you want to see another one? And I'm like, uh-huh. She slams down another book. I open, more angels fly out of these books, and I'm just like, oh my God. She's like, have you ever seen a photographer's portfolio? Have you ever seen Devin, I'm on a rant here, bro. I'm on a rant. Ask me in a second, okay? Hold tight. Come back to when I'm not telling my story. So she says, have you ever seen a photographer's portfolio? No. She opened like this. She showed me this photographer's portfolio, and literally, it was like an army just like stood up and started shooting. Like opening this first like I'd never seen a photographer's book before. And I was like, holy shit. That is what Celia did for me. She showed me model portfolios. She showed me photographers' portfolios. And then she said this, would you like to shoot a real model? And I said, are you fucking kidding me? Of course. And she said, listen, I have 2 new girls. They just came in yesterday morning. Not sure if we're going to take them on or yet. They have no pictures. Test these 2. That was the first time I heard the word test. Test. She said, test these 2 girls and show me what you got. So she set it up. I met these 2 girls at the modeling agency the next day, and I took them. I didn't have lights. I had a 35 millimeter camera and a 50 millimeter lens. Okay. I took these girls to like an underground parking lot because it's Canada and it wasn't nice outside. And I turned on like my mom's car lights to like light the models like with my headlights in an underground parking lot. And I like shot them like posing up against a cement wall. And I brought this test back to Celia, and Celia's like, fuck, that's good. Here, do it again. And she gave me another model. And then I shot that model. And she's like, oh shit. And then that day, this guy named Sidney DeGroot, who was a model / makeup artist. This guy looked like James Bond. Looked like he was straight out of a motion picture. British dude. First time I'd hung out with a British dude. He's like, hey, mate, blah, blah, blah. And he's like, dude, super hetero, super like, but a makeup artist, and did like fucking super delicate makeup on women. Just didn't make any sense. So Sydney starts doing makeup. Yo, Jada, thank you so much. I appreciate you. So Sydney, this like hetero jacked dude, starts doing, and also I start shooting Sydney. I start shooting Sidney DeGroot, and I do the most insane photographs with this guy. We go to train yards. This guy's jumping between, like, he was such a pro. So Celia connected me with the right models, and in basically between like June of end of year school, I was going to start school in September. I decided to start the next September. I used the work that I created shooting for these modeling agencies to get into the best photography school in the country. I used that work, and I also learned how to sell. That camera store that I was working at, I quit that camera store because there was a camera store across the street that sold Hasselblads and Leicas and like pro gear. And I worked at like a lower end consumer camera store that I was the manager of. And I left being the manager of that store to be just an employee of another store, so I could hold Hasselblads during the day, and I could hold Leicas and F3s and Canon AE1s and just play with cameras all day. And this guy supported me being a photographer. He supported me being a photographer. That's my brother, by the way. Opal Customs, my actual brother that I literally was just telling you. Still here, still supporting. My biggest inspiration. Thanks, Les, for being here, bro. So, the story continues. I now use this body of work and I apply to Ryerson. Okay, I get into Ryerson, which is the best photography school in the country. And I find out that my work, people know my photos already. I have a guy in 4th year who comes up to me, who's been in Ryerson for 3 years already. He's like, "Are you Steve Carty?" "Yes." "I've seen your pictures, dude. You're sick. Can I assist you?" Dude, the guy's in 4th year photography. He's older than me. And he's trying, I'm like, when I got into Ryerson, I'm telling you, my head was this big because I came from the industry. I was working. I was a photographer. I was shooting agency girls. Then I went to photography school and I thought I was hot shit. And I'm telling you, the first class, holy fuck. Even it doesn't matter how good I was, the first class, like everybody just gets like stripped down. And I've told stories of Bill Scanlon and where the black t-shirts in the industry came from and the uniforms in the industry, how photographers have to wear. All of that came from Toronto Photography School in the 80s. Bro, every time I see my brother in my chat, I fucking get choked up. Every single time. Okay. Fuck. Les, every time, bro. Every time. It's my older brother. I'm about to talk about you in a second. Okay. So it's 1st year Ryerson, and things are really starting to rock. And I'm shooting and testing and straight A student, like literally. Ooh. But my parents divorced, and my parents were about to divorce and did divorce, and I had to drop out of school. So I had to drop out of school because my parents were helping me a bit. But when my dad left, I had to help my mom. My brother also was in a bad relationship. My brother got out of that relationship, moved back to also help my mom. So it was my brother, my mom, and I. And my mom tells us that she has to sell the house because she's like going to move up north. And my brother looks at me and he's like, "Let's get a studio." My brother is, at that time, was 28, 27 years old. I was 20. And Les says, "We need to get a studio and start this shit for real." So, and he then, what he does is he goes and he finds one. My brother goes and finds a studio for us. He goes and finds a studio. So he's like, "Bro, I found a studio, man. We got to go see it." And we go see it. It's like a corner unit, natural light, 22 windows wrapping the place, like 1,200 square feet, 14-foot ceilings, 3rd floor, overlooking downtown Toronto. It was gorgeous. And obviously in a shitty old warehouse building, but it was a beautiful unit. So I decide, yeah. And also this, my mom had already said, like, we have to move because she's selling the house. So in 1 week, I moved out of my mom's house. sold my 4x5 camera because I had to pay for first and last rent, quit photography school, quit my job at the camera store, and became a full-time photographer. Rippy, thank you. Became a full-time photographer, and I did that all in 1 week. That was 1991, 92. And my brother and I did some renovations. We painted the whole place. Thank you, Scoop. We painted the whole place, and I put photos on the wall, framed photos on the wall. My brother put his paintings on the wall, and with no internet, no email, no cell phones, we told the industry that we were having this party. And we told the industry that we were having this party, and everybody and their mother came. Tori, welcome. Thanks for becoming a part of the Carty crew. Appreciate you. Thank you. Tori, welcome. Tori's crossed the line. She's now a member. I appreciate you that. So we had this party. Yo, let's go. Pontius, thanks for becoming a subscriber. So we had this party, and like we had a guest book for people to sign, and I had like now been shooting for a bit and working for modeling agencies, but I was doing this while I was a student in school. Like I was getting, my pager was go off, and I'd go to the hallway and get on the payphone, and like I failed out of school. First year straight A's. Second, I was failing. Like I had to leave school because I wasn't doing any assignments. I was just trying to do work. So we had this party, had this guest book, and like literally that night, it seemed like I saw more strangers that I'd ever seen in my life, and they were all in my house. It was like 500 people came to my studio for a party. And like we sold like $5 beers or whatever, and like made money, and like that money helped us pay rent. And like I look at my brother, my brother looks at me, and he was like, "We need to do that again." And so that, and then we look at the guest book, and it's like Flair magazine. Oh my God, great party, great photos. Send your book to us. Chatelaine magazine. Oh my God, great. Like all of these magazine editors were at this party, and like this modeling agency. Oh my God, love your photographs. Come by, show us your work. Like all of these people were at this party, and it was one time. Like we threw this one party, and it was like that exploded us on the industry. It was called Two-Eyed Studios because I'm legally blind, by the way. I wear contact lenses. My prescription is minus 9.25. My focus point is here, out of focus, in focus. So I'm a legally blind photographer. I'm wearing contact lenses right now. My brother is blind in one eye, completely blind, and he wears a contact lens in the other. So between the two of us, we figured we had two good eyes. So we called it Two-Eyed Studios. So that ran, and we ran shit in Toronto, and that launched me. I started shooting for every modeling agency, and yeah. And then my brother ended up moving to BC, and I had the studio for a bit, and then flipped. Like I've had like 15 studios in Toronto, and they keep like knocking down buildings, and like you have to move because they want to put a condo up. And it's got to the point now where there's not really a lot of studio buildings here anymore. That's why I don't live in a studio. It's just, there's like very limited amount of studio space now. It's just not the same, and it's not like how it is in Montreal. It's not how it is in Chicago. It's not how it is in New York, where there's just tons of studio space. It's just not like that here. So I had to, I mean, now I rent studios, but that just takes you from age 14, when I first picked up a camera. Cora, thank you so very much. 14, when I first picked up a camera, to 22, when I'm in a studio with my brother starting to shoot real legitimate work. Robert, thank you so much, man. I appreciate you so much. So I started, I don't know, there's no other way to explain it other than how we ran it is we would do a party like every other month, and we would change. My brother would do new paintings. I would put new framed photographs up, and then more people would come, and then more people would come. And then, so Fuadad, thank you so much. So more people would come, and more, like, how we actually like started in this city was by inviting the industry into our space, and we did it almost every, like, at times it was every month. And then the thing is like our parties, like, we had like, it wasn't a massive space, but our parties were so insane that like other people in the building who had bigger spaces, they started doing parties too. So we turned this building into this like insane like party spot. And we did it from like 92 to 95 in that space. And then I moved from a space that was 1,400 square feet into a space with two, like another photographer and another two dudes. That space was 3,000 square feet. And that space had 30-foot ceilings. And that space, we also did parties. And the parties that we did there were legendary, where there was cabs like posted up outside our party because they knew like it was the it spot. Yeah, so early on in my career, the studio spaces also doubled as spaces that we would do insane parties because we had to keep commerce going. And when times were tough, it's like, well, we better bring a bunch of people in here and sell some beers so we can pay rent. Like, that's how it started. It was kind of artful. So that kind of brings me into starting to show my work to magazines, because magazines were coming to my parties, and it was time to, and also I met this guy when I was in photography school. His name's Bryce Duffy, and Bryce Duffy was like, it was like me and Bryce. Bryce was the best in the school, and I was like the second best. Bryce is repped by DS Reps. He's from Vancouver. He is a portrait photographer, but he was all like, and again, if you look at the, like, this is Bryce's work. And again, Bryce and I, like, Elon Musk, before he was as big as he is right now, like, the amount of celebrities that Bryce has shot, because of Bryce, like, Bryce kind of opened up celebrity for me. Like, truly, this guy is responsible for me shooting celebrities, because Bryce was shooting at 22 years old, was shooting portraits for the Globe and Mail. And I was shooting fashion. Look at this stuff of Wiz Khalifa. And I was shooting fashion for the Globe and Mail. So, I mean, I was shooting fashion. So Bryce is like, dude, the Globe and Mail's fashion is shit. You should be shooting for them. So he introduced me, and I went to the Globe and Mail, showed my fashion portfolio, and the art director of the Globe and Mail is like, cool, look through, cool, wow, great, yeah, cool. And he said, he's like, wow, that's one of the best fashion books I've seen. He's like, here, do you want to shoot something? I'm like, yeah. And he sent, and I look, and it's a portrait. It was a portrait. And I'm like, huh. I take the assignment sheet. I'm like, thanks. And then I go and I shoot this author. Okay. So I come back, I give him this picture of the author, and he's like, cool. Here, shoot this one. And then it's another portrait. And I'm like, Michael, you know I'm a fashion photographer, right? And he's like, Carty, any hack with a camera can shoot pretty girls in pretty locations with pretty hair and makeup, styling. it takes a real photographer to shoot the rest of us. What kind of a photographer are you? Like, he basically told me shooting fashion was hack. And he literally just said, I'm just testing to see if you're a real photographer or not. And Bryce always was like, why are you shooting fashion, Carty? Like, why? It is like, in Toronto, he's like, why? There's so much of a bigger world if you shoot portraits. Fashion is this big. Portraits is this big. And so I started shooting portraits for the Globe and Mail. And I shot Daniel Stevenson, who's like massive like writer, and like Robert Sawyer, another, like I shot some massive authors, and like next thing you know, it's like, do you want to shoot Roger Moore 007? It's like, okay. And understand, back then, black and white newspaper. I'm shooting Hasselblad, okay? Black and white newspaper. I'm shooting Hasselblad, and the assignments that I'm getting are shoot Roger Moore, shoot Phil Collins, and then after, like, so then Michael Gregg, the art director who brought me on, he left, and Bryce and I were still, like, Bryce was in school still. I had dropped out, but we were both shooting for the Globe and Mail. And I go in one day, and it's Michael Gregg's not there. And it's a new lady sitting at his desk. And she's like, hi, I'm Kathleen. I'm like, hi, Kathleen. She's like, I'm replacing Michael. I'm like, amazing. I'm talking no announcements. You don't hear anything. This is pre-email, pre-anything like that. I just show up one day, and it's a new person there. So I'm like, hey, nice to meet you. And then I pass her a picture of Phil Collins. I'm like, here, this is the assignment I had. I was going with Michael. It's Phil Collins. She's like, oh, wow, great. She's like, do you want to do another one? I'm like, sure. She picks up a piece of paper. She's like, do you know who Radiohead is? And I'm like, yes. She's like, do you want to shoot Radiohead? And I'm like, uh-huh. So she passes me the assignment, and I dash off, and I'm like, and that ends up being the most important session of my career thus far. I'm 27 years old. And I get hired to shoot Radiohead. Now I go to the hotel. I want to talk about anxiety. I literally, like, I can't express to you at this time, I had already shot Tony Bennett, Oscar Peterson, legends of jazz. Okay. At this point, I've already, Abbey Lincoln, Stanley Turrentine, Roy Hargrove, like, shot legends of jazz at this point already. Now I'm 5 years into my career, 6 years into my career. This girl gives me Radiohead. Okay. I go to the hotel and again, I have a light, I have like a piece of black velvet, and I'm thinking of the famous picture of John Lennon and Yoko Ono. Yo, Amond, back for 17. Amond, I appreciate you. Amond, thank you. I appreciate you, my guy. Thank you for your kind words. I appreciate you. So I'm going in prepared to shoot a picture of the 4 members of Radiohead in a hotel room. Okay. So I'm thinking like the 4 of them sitting on the end of the bed with like the bed behind, or like the Yoko and John Lennon picture that Annie Leibovitz shot, like aiming down, like on the top of the bed with the 4, like I'm thinking about, like, I have to shoot them in the hotel room, or like maybe black background and I do individual of 4 of them and assemble it into like one picture. So honestly, I'm in the elevator literally like like my stomach turning upside down. Get to the floor, go to the door, knock, knock, knock on the door. The writer opens the door, and Tom York is sitting on the couch with his legs crossed, and he's having a tea. Like literally, he's having a tea. And I'm like, hey, I'm Steve Carty. And it's like, hi, mate. And it's just Tom. And the writer's like, yeah, the rest of the band is sick. Tom's not feeling well, but he wanted to make sure that the interview went. Amazing. So I sat and listened to Tom talk to this writer, because I always shoot second. You don't want to shoot first when you're doing assignment photography and you're working with a writer. With a writer, it's called junction work. You want the writer to interview first, and you listen to the interview, because you learn so much about the subject and the story if you listen to the interview, and it connects you with the subject because you hear their story. And then during your shoot, you can be talking to them about what they were talking about in that session. So that's like, I learned that from shooting this one photo of Tom York, is that you always shoot second. Don't like be in a rush and be like, oh, I got another shoot, I got to do this first and I got to go. No, shoot second. Sit and wait for the interviewer to finish the entire interview. Listen to every single word. And also the subject starts to get comfortable with you because you're there by proxy, and then do your photo shoot. So after the interview, I'm like, okay, Tom, like, ready to do some photos? And he's like, and again, I'm a kid, 27 years old. I'm like, hey, Tom, you ready to do some photos? He's like, all right, mate, what are you thinking? And I'm like, well, I had an idea, like, I was thinking about, like, maybe you lying on the bed and, like, I shoot you from above, or, like, maybe you're sitting on the end of the bed. He's like, nah, mate, I don't want to look like some wanker in a hotel room. Can we go outside? Like, instantly, the universe, I swear to God, the universe, like, aligned. When I was walking in to the hotel, I saw this location. I said, oh my God, if they come outside, I'm going to shoot them right there. And Tom says, I don't want to look like some wanker in a hotel room. Can we go outside? Yes. So we go down the elevator, and he's like, what are you shooting with? And I said, Hasselblad. And he's like, sick. Like, he knew what, like, my camera. He's been shot by Albert Watson at this time, Nick Knight. And, like, at this time, Creep, have you heard the song Creep? Like, was like a massive, and it was 1 week before the release of OK Computer. 1 week before the world heard OK Computer. Okay, and they were touring, promoting this upcoming new album. So I go outside, I grab my Hasselblad, and I shoot a Polaroid of him against this wall in black and white. And I pull the Polaroid, wait 60 seconds, we're chatting, and like I peel the Polaroid and I'm like, oh fuck. And he's like, let me see. And I show him the Polaroid, and he's like, can I keep this, mate? And I'm like, yeah. So he put the Polaroid in this pocket right here. And you can literally see the Polaroid in this pocket. So he put my Polaroid in his pocket. And then that smile was my first frame. Tom York had never been captured smiling before, ever. Never been captured smiling before. So I shot that first frame. And then I shot more frames, 12 to be exact. I was also shooting 35 millimeter upstairs when he was being interviewed, that like no one will ever see. I don't show that stuff. But this frame, a version of this frame went on the cover of the, and also he was so dope and he was so into it. Here's the other frame. He was so into it. And the Polaroid was a version of this picture. And this, like, between a version of this picture is what went on the cover of the Globe and Mail. They didn't use this edit. So the story gets crazier. So these two pictures go on the cover of the Globe and Mail newspaper. 2 million people see the most famous musician in the world at the moment. And then underneath, photo by Stephen Carty. Like that photo credit, 2 million people saw my name in print that day. Radiohead goes on to win five Grammys for OK Computer. 5. Radiohead explodes. And I have Tom York in my portfolio. Like, this is the most important photograph of my career, this session, because this shot black and white, shot Hasselblad, shot in 1997. It changed everything. So now I'm riding the waves of, I have Tom York in my portfolio. Like, I'm riding that, okay? Plus Tony Bennett and Oscar Peterson and all of these other people in my portfolio at that time. I'll get my coffee table book in a second. So I'm riding that wave. I'm walking on Queen Street with my roommate, JP, who worked for Polygram Records. He was a record exec. Walk with my roommate and my dog, okay? Walking down Queen Street. I feel this tap on my shoulder. I turn. It's Tom York from Radiohead. And he's wearing the same jean jacket. And he says this: "Aren't you that dread that took my picture last year?" Bro, he recognized me from behind. He recognized me from behind. And he remembered the city that he was in when he shot that photo. He taps me on the shoulder. I literally, it's almost like I don't believe my fucking life. I don't believe my life. Okay? Holland, congratulations for hitting 50. 50 makes 40 look like 10. Trust me. 50 is where it's at. Congratulations. Thanks for making it. Thanks for being here. Tom York taps me on the shoulder on Queen Street, Queen and Spadina. And he says this: "Aren't you that dread that took my picture last year?" And I'm like, yes. Like, yes? Like, what the fuck? Yes? And he's like, "Am I ever going to see that photo, mate?" Yes. How, can you get it to me? Uh-huh. Like, we're standing on the street. And he's like, "Here, do you mind if I walk with you? Do you mind if I walk with you?" Tom says to me, "Do you mind if I walk with you?" Fuck, of course. And he's like, "I've got a bit of a problem." Tom, what's the problem? These ladies. And he points behind, and there's 60 girls following him. 60. Like, they're Canadian, so they're not rushing him. Holland, welcome. Thanks for the $5, my guy. I appreciate you so much. Thank you for your generosity. Can you help me with these ladies back here? Do you mind if I walk with you? So, and also, can you take me to a record store that I've heard is on Queen Street that's called Rotate This? Do you mind if I walk with you? Can you protect me from these ladies? And can you take me to this record store? And also, do I ever get to see that photo? So I get to walk down Queen Street with this guy and tell him how my life has changed since I photographed him. Tell him, you changed my life. Completely changed, like, bro. So I take him to Rotate This, and he says, "I'm checked in at the Harbor Castle Westin Hotel under the name James Bond. Could you please bring this picture to me?" Yes, bro. Yes. Got you. So I dash home with my roommate, leave Tom York at the record store. I tell these girls, be nice, leave him alone, okay? Leave him alone. He's my boy. So I go home. I now start going through my archives and I start pulling like Tom York prints. Like, oh, there's one. Oh, yeah, okay. So I put together like a package of like 3. I signed them and I put them in an envelope with cardboard. And I drive directly to the Harbor Castle Westin Hotel, and I'm at the counter and I'm like, I'm looking for James Bond. And she's like, yes, 1 second, please. You know how it goes. Like, she's there for like 4 minutes, like doing this. And then she says this, I'm sorry, James Bond checked out 10 minutes ago. This is me screaming, by the way. Okay? This is me screaming. Rin Kim, thank you for the birthday wishes. I appreciate you. This is me screaming, by the way, because James Bond has checked out. Next, like, James Bond is gone. So I call my roommate because I had a cell phone. It was 1997. I think there was cell phones then. Maybe the little Nokia, or I used a payphone. Called my roommate and said, Tom York has checked out, bro. It's over. I came this close. We spent like an hour with him. I came this close to getting this picture to him. He checked out. And Chico, my roommate, he's like, bro, he's at Much Music. I'm watching him right now live. They're doing an intimate and interactive at Much Music, which is like the Canadian MTV. Don't get it twisted. Much Music was before MTV. So I like turn the car around and I start driving straight to Much Music. Perfect, because I know exactly where that is. Know exactly where he is. Drive to Much Music. I get there. There's like 1,000 people in front of Much Music. Great. So I like wedge my way to the glass and I'm standing at the glass in his eye line with the print like in envelope, like on the glass. He's in an interview. Like, what can he do? Okay. Finishes the interview, waiting like another half an hour. I'm outside the park. I'm in the parking lot, but I'm behind a gate with like 10,000 screaming people. Radiohead comes out. They're about to load into a limo and everybody is screaming. Everybody. I swear, there's a lull in the screaming for like an instant. And I do this. I say, hey, Tom. And he turns his head, looks directly at me. And he says, hey, yo, security, let that dread there right through. So gates open. I go through. They close the gates again. I walk up to Tom. I give him the envelope. He's like, mate. And he shakes my hand. He's like, fuck, you came through. And I'm like, you know, gets in the limo. They come. They now open the gate so the limo can leave. And I'm like kind of following the limo. And I see him in the back seat literally pull out the picture and like look back out the window and go, fucking hey, mate. So rarely do I get to complete the circle. Rarely do I get to shoot a celebrity at this level. And he gets to like have that photo. It's rare because it's not like I can like mail it to him. Tom York doesn't make his address public. So this became the most important photograph of my career. Like straight out the end. 1997, Radiohead explodes. That now opens up so much opportunity with me with record companies. I start shooting for Universal, Polygram. Like I was already shooting with record companies, but shooting Tom York now, like I was shooting even more stuff for record companies. And at that time, I was getting like the going rate for me in 1999 for me to shoot a CD cover was $10,000. That was the going rate. So I shot Cardinal Official in 2000. Because again, the crazy thing that happened is it was all like alternative music. And then around 99, hip hop became mainstream. Hip hop became popular music, and it moved from alternative into hip hop overnight, like literally overnight. And record companies start, like, now it's like, well, we need to shoot these rappers. So I'm the guy who's getting all of these calls. So before I shot Cardinal's album, I started shooting for shooting for rap magazines and hip hop magazines. And in 96, I went to New York for the first time, and I showed my portfolio to George Pitts, the late George Pitts from Vibe magazine. And George Pitts, I also wanted to tell the world that I was a portrait photographer. So in 1994, I did an exhibit at City TV at Bravo. They did like a full-on feature of me, my work, and they did a television spot on me, like a 4-minute segment. And I took that video and copied it because the video had me talking, it showed my photographs and told my story. So I sent that video to a bunch of magazines, and one of the magazines I sent that video to was Vibe. I sent that video to Vibe magazine, and that video got me a meeting with George Pitts from Vibe. So I went and saw this man, the late George Pitts, and again, after Vibe, he went on to be the director of photography and the photo editor for Life magazine. So George Pitts died tragically early, and really mentored a whole industry. He also taught at Parsons at one time. He just mentored like a whole generation of photographers. When I showed my work to George Pitts, he's like, "Steve, you're a really great photographer. You're good enough to shoot for Vibe magazine." And I'm like, amazing. And he's like, "But there's some other photographers who are also good enough to shoot for Vibe magazine, and they met me first. So I'm going to photocopy your portfolio, and I'm going to put it on the bottom of this pile." And he showed me the pile. The pile of photocopies was like taller than me. Okay. And in fact, he made me help him move the pile so I could put my portfolio at the very bottom. And then he stacked all of these like color photocopy pages, like stapled together, like probably 200 portfolios. Okay. So George Pitts, the late George Pitts, looked at my portfolio and he's like, "Steve, you are good enough to shoot for Vibe magazine, but there's some other photographers who came and saw me first. Would you like to see one of their portfolios?" And the first photographer he pulled was Robert Maxwell. And this photographer is still obviously kicking it. But this was the first photographer's portfolio that he showed me that had come to see him sooner, was Robert Maxwell, who was at that time about to shoot for Vibe. So Robert Maxwell and his career was helped develop by George Pitts. And I'm really sad that I never got to shoot for George, because he was such a massive inspiration and influence for so many photographers. And then the second photographer was Christian Whitkin. And Christian Whitkin was the second photographer that he pulled that was also good enough to shoot for Vibe, but had got there before me. So these photographs didn't exist back in the mid 90s, but these are the photographers that that were popping at the time where I was really starting to pop in the late 90s and early 2000s. So this is Christian Wicken. So 96, I showed my work to Vibe. It was even before I had shot Tom York. That next year I shot Tom York, and kind of like going to New York gave me so much confidence, and Vibe saying that my work was good gave me so much confidence. And then hip hop started, and then hip hop just, this is what really took my career from shooting hip hop is what took my career from literally being a photographer that people knew to like the guy. I was the go-to guy. So this brings us to the second most important session of my career. In 2001, I photographed Pharrell Williams, and I was, let's say, 11 years into my business. I had crossed year 10. Hip hop had broke. I was making $10,000 a record. I had a dope ass. And the funny thing is this photo, I made this in an alleyway that literally 10 years later, or no, 5 years later, I ended up renting a studio in this building. So crazy. So I ended up having a studio in this building eventually, but made this picture long before I moved in there, which is crazy. So I used to get to see this alley where I made this photo every single day, which is mental. Doesn't look like this anymore, by the way. So the second most important session in my life, in 2001, I shot Pharrell Williams, and it was for a magazine called Peace, which is like a small urban free Canadian magazine that was really crushing at this time. I started shooting editorial for that magazine along with doing record company stuff and shooting ads and urban clothing. Like a Peace if you would buy Peace magazine or get a free Peace magazine, it was my picture on the cover and then my picture on the table of contents, and then you'd see ads that I also shot, and then you'd see editorial that I also shot, and then you'd see interviews with big celebrities that I also shot. Like I shot the whole magazine, like cover to cover. So it gave me access to an insane amount of celebrities, although I wasn't making a ton of money in today's standards. Back then, I was doing pretty okay. So Pharrell Williams, styled by Damon Green and Desmond Hill. This was like one of those photo shoots that changed everything. Pharrell had just produced Ludacris's record. He had just produced Rock La Familia for Jay-Z, and was in Toronto promoting his NERD record, which is his other collective that he's a part of, not to mention the Neptunes and blah, blah, blah. But this was before the Neptunes was NERD. And he had a video called Lap Dance, and in the video, he's riding BMX bikes. And there's skaters and blah, 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 but Pharrell is riding BMX bikes in that video. So for this photo shoot, it was my idea to not shoot in a studio, to not meet at a random location, but to meet at a skateboard shop that also had BMXs. So we met at a skateboard shop, and Pharrell, he rolls in and he's like, whose idea was it to meet here? And I'm like, and he comes up and fucking daps me. He's like, he points. He's like, I got that bike. I have that deck. And he's like, yo. And then the lowrider picture that I made of him, the very famous picture where he's wearing the red jacket, that photo of him on the lowrider is the photo I made first. And he said, I own this bike. I own this lowrider, but I've never photographed it. So I'm going to use this bike to take this picture. And he was wearing these red Gazelles, Adidas Gazelles, and he wanted a jacket to match. So he bought this jacket to basically match. This was some $1,100 dub jacket. Also, at this time, his pants were the tightest pants I'd ever seen, because people were wearing stuff that was so baggy. And at this point, these were tight pants. Pharrell's style just broke all conventions. So I made this photograph first, and then we made the 20-inch BMX picture after, and I made the famous no hander, no footer picture. This set ended up going into Hip Hop Immortals, which is the largest exhibit of hip hop photography in the world. It was part of 40 Years of Hip Hop, which was another collection of hip hop photography that was shown here. And it's in a coffee table book. This photograph's been exhibited in Paris. It's been exhibited in London. And it is part of the largest collection of photography, of hip hop photography ever put together, called Hip Hop Immortals. I've exhibited with David LaChapelle. I've exhibited with like Jamil Shabazz and some of the biggest photographers in the world because of this session that I did with Pharrell Williams. So, I mean, looking at this body of work that I've put together and how it's all attached to stories. And the reason why I thought today would be nice to tell you some stories is because my whole photography career, like, you can just look through my portfolio, and it was a time in my life and an era. I hope you feel like this body of work all looks like it came from me and my core, because I really do my best to hold true to my style. So Pharrell Williams ended up being a very, very important picture. I'm going to show one more from the Pharrell session, which is The Trick. It is called, and again, I don't show my photographs in sequence because they all stand alone as individuals. So I want you to be able to look at my work as individuals and not have to, you don't have to see 3 Pharrell photos in a row. I'd rather you see 3 Pharrell photos and mixed of looking at all my shit. So let's find The Trick. Sorry, just trying to find this one more picture here. There it is. All right. So after I had shot that first BMX picture, that first lowrider picture, Pharrell picked this 20-inch BMX Disc GT and he bought it. He's like, I don't have a 20-inch BMX. He literally put $1,100 American on the counter and wrote on a piece of paper his address, and he's like, ship this bike to me. So he, between riding from the bike shop to this location, like, I was walking and Pharrell was doing 360s on this bike, like bunny hop 360s and 180s to fakie, like wheelies. Like, I've never seen a guy so happy. And he's like, bro, I'm so happy that you picked this bike shop to meet. I'm so fucking happy. Like, I'd never seen a guy so happy. And so we rode into this alley and I said, okay, Pharrell, this is the next location. And he said, yo, I want to do a trick. Can you get it? And I'm like, of course I can get it. And he's like, yo, bro, I can only do this once. Can you get it? And I'm like, okay, wait, let me switch to my 35 millimeter from my Hasselblad. So I put my Hasselblad down, loaded my 35 millimeter, and then he literally went down to the back of the alley down here and came in, put both feet up, and then did this no hander, no footer. And I shot 3 frames. And this was the frame. So thanks, big bro. I appreciate you. So this was the frame. And it's absolutely insane how this picture became, like, this picture is in the first book of Canadian contemporary photographers, which I was selected, and they chose, of all of my photos, they chose this photo to represent me, which is absolutely crazy. Big D, thank you, my guy. So tell us about a time when I thought I took an amazing photo, but my customer wasn't happy. Big T, it's a lot different when you're dealing with like high-end clients. It's not like, if a client isn't happy when you're dealing at this level, it's rare that they talk about it. They just don't hire you again. You know what I mean? So how I deal when I thought I took an amazing photo but my customer wasn't happy, whenever there's that kind of stuff, that has to do with like a customer not knowing what they want, which is simple. That happens when a customer doesn't know what they want. So your quality isn't as good as you think it is. And your customer knows photography. So they were hoping for here, and your skill only was here. That's why that would happen. So for me, I don't deal with that really, and haven't dealt with that at all. But what does happen is your client says they want this. And then when they see that, they realize that's not what they want. So digital photography has pretty much eliminated that, because you can shoot tethered. Someone says they want something, you show them, and they're like, that's not really it. Okay, well, it's like, that's what you said you wanted. So how can you now make it better with light and idea, blah, 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 to kind of make them happy? But at the same point, Big T, you get to a point where, like, I give my clients what they need. They're rarely, like, if I'm shooting an interview, like, I'm directing them. If I'm shooting photos, I'm giving photos that they need, and they don't know that they need it. You know what I mean? I'm not necessarily asking for permission, or I'm not shooting to please. I'm not shooting to please. If that makes any sense, like, when you get to a certain level, like, the work I make is going to make you happy. And if you're not happy with it, then you weren't clear in what it was that you wanted. So it's like, if you're still dealing with unhappy customers, Big T, if that's, you're asking me that because that's a situation that you have faced, it's like, how you avoid that is by being undeniable, If you're not having your work looked at, like, again, Big T, I don't look at your work every week on Tuesdays and Thursdays. So I don't know where you are in the level of work that you're making. So when you're self-assessing, then sometimes you're going to come up against a customer or a client that they have higher expectations than you can deliver. And that's something that you learn in a meeting. So for me, I have systems in place where I do not get to a point of having customers in any other place except for beyond their, like, I've delivered beyond their expectation, because I'm so informed on what they need. I'm more informed on what they need than they are. Again, when you're dealing with people who are shooting photos for their ego, I like it, I don't like it. And if that's down here, Big T. And I don't deal with those people because they don't know. They don't know any better. They don't know, there's no reference. I don't like what I look like. So then that's your problem, because you're not a plastic surgeon, you're a photographer. So it's like, you can weed out those customers just by asking the right questions beforehand. And while you're shooting, when you ask the right questions, and again, when you're trying to please someone who has self-image problems, these kinds of things create so much problems after. So again, it's always about the client type. You understand? There's bad clients. There's wrong clients. I just made a video about why being the affordable photographer is a trap. Because when you think you take amazing photos, but your customer wasn't happy, that's because you're dealing with shit customers. That's the end of this. That's the end of the conversation. It's a situation you worry about, but it's never happened. Well, don't ask me things that haven't happened, bro, because I don't deal with those scenarios, because I'm like, I've created systems that doesn't happen anymore. I've created scenarios that doesn't happen anymore. If it hasn't happened to you, talk to me about a situation that has happened to you. Something that I can tell you that does relate. Because you're saying it's a situation I worry about, but it's never happened. Well, why are you worrying about something that's never happened? I'm worried that it's going to be World War III. Why? I'm worried that, like, the sky's going to fall. Why? Always think about positive outcomes. Always think this shoot's going to be the best. This client's going to be happy. This is going to be the best day ever. Like, if you go into situations like that, or you're going into situations like, oh, I hope they're happy. Oh, I hope they like me. Oh, I hope this is okay. Is that what you're doing? Is that what you're doing, Big T? Because again, you know that that's not how I teach. And that's not the kind of a personality that I'm trying to make you. I'm not trying to make you small. I'm trying to make you big. Like, if you anticipate why your clients might not be happy, you already have solutions or countermeasures to prevent. That is from Nick, one of my coaches. meaning somebody who I have hired to be one of my coaches here for you, Nick Johnson, who's telling you how it is. And also Nick answering all kinds of questions in chat. So the whole idea, as I was saying, like, we're trying to get to a place where we know exactly what our clients need. So we're giving them that. And even if our, this campaign, my client didn't know what she needed, but I did. I knew it. And again, this isn't for her. This is just a subject who's a student that I'm shooting this for Algoma University. And again, this client did not know the exact photos that I was going to make. They didn't know the exact photos that I was going to make, but they've seen my work. They know, they trust me, and they let me make work that made, and again, all that work that I made for Algoma and this photo, like in magazine here, like the work worked. But again, it's like sometimes your clients can't even picture what your work is going to look like, but the designer can. The person who's laying it out can. So you're kind of speaking a whole different language sometimes than your clients. I hope that helps you. But yeah, the whole idea is to not ever be in that situation. Now, Courtney Turner, thank you, my guy. Courtney says, have a birthday spalu on me. He just hit the big 40 yesterday. Yo, Cancer brother. And so glad that you found me at this point in your life. Thank you, my guy. Appreciate you. Thank you, Courtney. Courtney, you're a talented guy, my guy. I'm here to take you to the promised land. As long as you want to walk the walk. So let me tell you now, and let me show you some of the work that was happening at that time. At that time, I was shooting now, we're talking 2000, 2001, Cardinal Official CD covers, and what else was happening around that time? The Rascals CD cover. And then because Cardinal was with MCA Records also had KC and JoJo. And KC and JoJo are alcoholics and really not great to shoot. They're super OCD and don't really spend a lot of time, anyways, they're just bad for photographers. And when I met the guy from MCA Records and he saw the work that I did with Cardinal, he's like, do you think that you're pretty good at wrangling people? Do you think that you could wrangle these two for a promo and publicity shoot? And I'm like, yeah. So they flew me to LA. That was my first time in LA in 2000. And I went down there, and for these guys who they'd spent $120,000 and got one photo from a photographer, they paid me 60 and I got 19 shots, like basically 10 looks with these guys. I had Herb Ritz, makeup artist, David LaChapelle's set dresser. I was shooting in a 16,000 square foot studio. Playboy was being shot in that room next to me and another shoot happening in that room next to me. It had a rooftop. Crazy. Flew there. Anyways, my assistant saw me parking the car. He's like, dude, what are you doing? You don't park your own car. Dude, just give me the keys. I do everything. And then saw me carrying my bag. He's like, dude, you don't carry your bag? That was holy shit. They treat you like a Hollywood rock star in California when you're a photographer. So went to LA, shot Casey and JoJo, did their promo publicity shoot. That really went really well. They flew me back again a second time to shoot their album, Emotional. And again, this was MCA's record, their last push with Casey and JoJo because they were failing miserable, formerly from Jodeci. So yeah, shot Casey and JoJo. That was around that time. And then, of course, it just really spun a whole bunch of work. But the problem is that I was painting myself in a corner because all I was shooting was hip hop. All I was shooting Pete Rock. All I was shooting was hip hop. And people were starting to say, when it was Steve Carty, that photographer Carty, it's oh yeah, that hip hop guy, the guy, because they'd forgot about Tommy Moore from Radiohead and all the jazz I had shot and Tony Bennett and all that stuff I had shot before was now trumped because of all of the hip hop work that I was becoming known for. I was becoming known for shooting rappers. So I needed to get out of the corner of shooting rappers. I got to shoot Ludacris in Detroit. All of this around that time. I got to shoot Ja Rule. Ja Rule's story is really funny. If you remind me, I'll tell you. I got to shoot Ja Rule. Like, so I had so many just killers in my portfolio. And Sim Strider, how does that thing about hip hop relate to how I advise photographers to find their niche? Too narrow. Well, I was perfectly niched at that time. But the thing about solutions is solutions expire. And what I had done is I had painted myself into a corner where as soon as I heard someone say, oh, Carty, that hip hop photographer, it said, I'm done with shooting hip hop. I'm done with shooting rappers. I'm done. And in fact, I was so done that I started saying, no, I don't care about that. I'm not like, because that's all I was known for. And I had to start getting known for something else. And I'm still a portrait photographer, but I had niched myself into a corner. So now I'm going to show you the third most important session of my life. This 10 years after the hip hop wave started, I started shooting directors and actors, and I started shooting for the Toronto International Film Festival, and not junket stuff, but like, I mean, not paparazzi stuff, but like session time with people. So I got to shoot many, many massive actors, which led to this photo. And this photo really changed everything, which is in 2000 and I guess I would say in 2007. Yeah, 2006 or 2007, 2007-ish. I shot Colin Firth a week before he won his Oscar. It's either 2007, 2009, probably 2009 actually. So I shot Colin Firth just before he won his Oscar, a week before. And this photograph I did for a company in Japan. This session now solidified me not as just a contemporary photographer, but as a photographer who also shot Hollywood heavyweights, like really big Hollywood stars that weren't necessarily associated with hip hop. Shooting Colin Firth on the verge of his Oscar, and then once he won his Oscar, everybody was looking for photos of Colin Firth, and my pictures of Colin Firth kept coming up. Like that was what I'll call the third most important session. And with Colin Firth, it was so cool because the iPhone 4 had just come out, and I had it because I'm that kind of guy. I had it on the first day, on release day. Colin Firth also had it on release day. And he saw me, like when he came in, I shook hands, blah, blah, blah. There was a little bit of pleasantries. People were talking. And he saw that I was on an iPhone 4. And iPhone 4 is the first front-facing camera on a phone. That's when FaceTime was invented with the iPhone 4. So Colin looks at me. He's like, is that an iPhone 4? I'm like, uh-huh. And he's like, I have one too. How'd you get it the first day? And I'm like, you know. And he's like, okay. And he's like, how do you get stuff like from your computer onto your phone? And I'm like, oh, you just use the app Dropbox. And he's like to his assistant, yo, write that down. And she's like writing down all these apps I'm telling him to get. And, oh, for news, you got to use this. And for, you know, this, and instead of the camera, you got to use this camera instead of that. Because, you know, he's like writing all these notes. And he's like, what do you think of it? And I'm like, I think it's great. What do you think of it? And he's like, well, I love it, except, and he goes into this story. He said, except when I'm in the bathroom in the hotel room this morning and I'm trying to take a whiz and I'm like watching something on my phone. So I had this here, like playing something while I was whizzing. And then I see you have a call from your assistant. So I'm like, okay. He pushes answer the call because he thinks he's just going to be on speaker. His assistant is testing out FaceTime because she has it too. So she FaceTimes him. He's peeing. She sees him. Like, so Colin's telling this story. Everybody's laughing. We're all laughing. And it's like we completely like bond. Okay. My client from Japan looks like this. No laughing, no smile, deadpan, because we've been joking around for 20 minutes. We had him for a set amount of time, and I haven't made a single photo, right? But I'm connecting with him. I'm connecting with Colin. That's what I'm doing. So Colin's like, oh, hilarious, right? Crazy. So aren't we supposed to make any pictures, some pictures? And it's like, He's like, who's a photographer? I'm like, me. He's like, you're the photographer? Cool. Like he's like, okay, what are we doing? And I'm like, sit right here up against this piece of black velvet and look at me. So he sits and he gives me this photo. And then when I show him this photo, he's like, I show him on the back of the camera and he's like, you're a real photographer. That's exactly what he said to me. He's like, you're a real photographer. I'm going to give you this quick. So over like a very short time, I got this capture and the other one that's at the top of my page. And there's a few here that show my Colin Firth images. So I got a whole bunch of covers, inside editorial layout, poster style, and I did it in 5 minutes. Okay. And then Colin's like, wow, that was dope. You're really good. You're really quick. Amazing. Okay. Who's interviewing me? And then the girl's like, blah, 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 like the Chinese girl. And then she interviews him, blah, blah, blah. And then it's like, blah, blah, blah. After like high fives, everybody leaves. My Chinese client looks at me and he is like, you, sir, you very tricky. You very tricky. I was very, very worried about you because not serious, blah, 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 blah. And it's Japan, very serious culture. He's like, I see what you did. He's like, you make friends. You make friends first, then photo. And I'm like, yeah. And he's like, you're very smart. You're very smart. And he's like bowing to me. And then, they paid me $5,000 for this session. But, and then of course it went on all through Japan to promote An Innocent Man, which was the stuff that I was shooting. You always got to connect first, photos after. Photos happen like on automatic when you're at the level that I am. But connecting with Colin, joking about the iPhone, giving him apps to use and all of this stuff and like letting him tell stories. And then when it was time to make a photo, like I was in the hotel room for an hour before with Corey practicing and testing light and setting up the shot. So when he sat down, boom. So that was a really, really, really big one. So, and this became the most like those 3 sessions, Tom York, Pharrell Williams, and Colin Firth, that kind of spawned everything. And then like Michael Sheen saw that I had just shot Colin Firth, and then Michael Sheen handpicked me to shoot him as Hamlet, and they searched like all over England, all over New York, all over the US, and like somehow they found me. DMX stories are long and funny. I love telling the DMX story, but I waited 7 hours to shoot DMX, by the way. 7 hours to shoot the late DMX. And I left that photo shoot 4 times. I'm done. Gone. Fuck this guy. 4 times. But yeah, now like my pictures are being used like historically to document DMX, which is like fucking pretty crazy. So, yeah, anyways, guys, like the whole idea today was to just have a little bit of vibe with you and, just this photography journey. I don't talk a lot about me. I don't talk a lot about my life outside of this. But please do not get it twisted. I am a photographer first. I'm a photographer first. I am not a fucking YouTuber, which is why I don't care if you watch me or not. I don't care if you watch for long or you watch for little. The people who do get what I'm doing here, those people, that's what I'm here for. I'm only here for the people who get me. And I am so easily misunderstood. I like snap on a dime. I wear my heart on my sleeve. I give no fucks. Like literally, this is just public service announcement. Liza wants to see Tony Bennett. I'm going to go get my coffee table book. Watch this.
Treat everybody like a superstar. Famous people less like a superstar. I treat famous people like real people. I started as a photographer, I would say professionally, when I was 20. My brother's a fine art painter, heavy influence on me, and I couldn't paint, so when I discovered the camera, it was really easy for me to express myself creatively. Everybody's in the business of glorifying celebrities, so capturing them, it's already glorifying them by photographing them. So if I can get them a little bit more understated, I feel like it brings up the real. In 1997, I shot Tom York from Radiohead, most important picture of my career. In 2001, I shot Pharrell Williams for Peace magazine. Again, very important picture. Colin Firth, a week before he won his Oscar, career moving pictures where that picture propels a whole new wave of clients, a whole new wave of people looking at my work. I think pivotal career-changing pictures are more important than favorite pictures, because they're all my favorite. The whole idea is make good stuff and share it and do it every day.
Mike Graves, thank you so much for becoming a member, my guy. Appreciate you. So you want to see Tony Bennett? I'll show you Tony Bennett. This is Positives. This came out in 2009. This is my first coffee table book. This one is the one I'm allowed to look through. I have 3 copies of this book left. 3 copies only. This is the beat up one, which I'm allowed to open. The other 2 I don't open. So this is Positives. And it starts with me and my kids. My kids at that time. My kids at the time when they were babies. My daughter Aya, my son Eli, who are now 18 and 16. Yesterday is gone, tomorrow never comes, so today is all we have. So again, you guys might have seen the first 2 photos. This is the first 2 photos. My first real fashion photo. This girl was on the cover of Italian Vogue, like literally was in Italian Vogue. And this was an artist in my building named Awali. And I shot his portrait. It was the first really powerful portrait that I've made. So this is like page 1 and 2 of this coffee table book, which sort of establishes me as a fashion and a portrait photographer, you know? So some early work. This is a rubber dragonfly. This is pre-Photoshop days. This work is all Hasselblad, all shot on film with no retouching and no like post-processing or anything like that. The jazz days, my first trip to New York, I shot this CD cover of this amazing piano player. His name is Mark Carey. And I shot this for Virgin Records. And this is another amazing trumpet player named Nicholas Payton. And this is Mark Winfield and Tony Bennett. It's my picture of Tony Bennett. This picture I definitely should show. It's shot on film, so I don't really show a lot of film work. But the story about Tony Bennett was I was in New York shooting Oscar Peterson for the Globe and Mail. Rubber Dragonfly is a great band name. So I was in New York shooting Oscar Peterson for the Globe and Mail. I also saw Vibe magazine. That time I was told that I was good enough to shoot for Vibe. And I was shooting Oscar Peterson at Town Hall during rehearsal. That's when the press were allowed to come during rehearsal. So I go in, I see Oscar Peterson, Stanley Turrentine, like all of these legends. I photograph all of these legends, Roy Hargrove, like amazing. And Tony Bennett's manager walks into the front of town hall in the back, and he says, Mr. Bennett is about to arrive. Mr. Bennett is about to come into the room. Mr. Bennett's not feeling well, so there can be no photographs of Tony today, okay? No photographs of Tony. Press, continue shooting what you're doing. No photographs of Tony, okay? Thank you. So I'm like, fuck, I'm going to see Tony Bennett. I'm going to be hanging out on stage, but I can't take his photo. Okay, cool. So I just like, Tony Bennett comes on, he's practicing, rehearsing, blah, blah, blah. I'm on stage shooting Oscar Peterson, Stanley Turrentine, blah, 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 blah. And again, another one of those taps, and it's Tony Bennett. Tony Bennett taps me on the shoulder and he says, excuse me, sir, you seem to be very committed to your work. I'm like, Tony, Mr. Bennett, thank you. Would you like to take my picture? Sir, I heard you weren't feeling very well. He said, for you, I will let you take my photo. Bro. And I shot that. And again, it was film, so I couldn't really even show him. So it's like, all right, so my picture of Tony Bennett. So again, it's like, and Phil Collins and Roger Moore for the Globe and Mail. This is all still film. This is why there's squares. Tom York. Yeah. And this is a dope page. This was shot in the South Bronx in 63 Park, where Grandmaster Flash and the Furious Five invented hip hop. And this man over here that I shot his CD cover, this guy, Mark Carey, this man, this guy here, this is his son. And on the day that we shot his CD cover, he needed to have his son with him. So he brought his son. And I made that picture in 63 Park, which is essentially where hip hop was invented. I also was invited to do this shoot called Naked in the House, where it was 12 photographers. We all got to shoot a model that we'd never seen before. We had to shoot her nude in a location that we've never been before. No lights, no assistant, one roll of film or 30 minutes, whatever came first. So I was invited. It was called Naked in the House, and I shot these two photos. It's in a book. It's fine art. So don't think that you're going to try to flag me. Mishi Mia won a magazine award for this picture. Mishi in the back of a taxi cab. Yeah, so this is basically coffee table book, Amory, Ja Rule. So this book goes through like my whole career from 1992 until like 2009. DMX, Daft Punk, and DJ X, and Baby Blue Sound Crew, and Chalk Claire for those who know Canadian hip hop. Baby Blue Sound Crew, which another like this is like a platinum record. This one, there's like a platinum gold records of this CD. So yeah, this is work, and of course Pharrell and all of that work. So this basically is chronological. This book doesn't exist, you can't buy it, but I can show you every once in a while Pete Rock and Grandmaster Flash. So this picture book just basically walks through all the different eras of my life. I also exhibited with Jamil Shabazz. This is my portrait of Jamil Shabazz. And Jamil says, like, how come you don't have a coffee table book? How come you don't have a coffee table book? So I did a coffee table book. This is the late George Romero, the director of Night of the Living Dead, Return of the Living Dead. And lastly, when you hear people calling me Dread, it's because this is what I used to look like. Just FYI, that's what I used to look like. So, coffee table book. I'm doing another one because there's so much work that's not in this book that I think people need to see. I think that's enough stories for today. Guys, I hope you found today valuable. I mean, honestly, I just wanted to hang out with you guys. I wanted to really just loop back around and understand, like, the average people that you don't watch, the average people that you watch on YouTube, they don't have a photography career. They don't have Jay Williams back on the birthday. Let's go. How many are we at? We're at 181. The whole goal is to get to, I'm trying to get to 1,000 members, but we're going to do it in blocks of 10. Dean XT, thanks so much, my guy. But yeah, I really wanted to reveal to you, just number one, how committed I am, like, and how most people who are calling themselves photographers on YouTube, they don't have what I have. They haven't done what I've done. So when, like, I'm a full-time photographer first. Photography is what I do. It's what I am. My channel is public service. I just do this because I'm a selfless person and I want to share my knowledge, all the ups and downs of things that I've went through, the systems that I use in order to have this career. It's all super, super, super essential. And I don't know, I just want to give back. You know, we don't live forever, and it's important. I think it's important to document your life. And I think it's important to like tell the stories of the ups and downs, and also really just like, I'd be transparent. I'm transparent. And hail Jamaica, Alex, welcome. Thanks for the birthday wishes. So Tori, thank you so much, girl. I appreciate you. Know that, like, this thing that we're trying to do, like, I if you watch from the beginning of today, I told the story of from age 14. I basically described from age 14 to like 40. And understand that, like, I picked up a camera at 14 and I never stopped. And I've always been trying to be known for what I do. Yeah, and again, well, now I'm known for being a photographer. Again, we have to set loftier and bigger goals. It took me a long time to get published in Vogue, and I've only been published in Vogue online. You know what I mean? Being published in Vogue in print is still a dream that I've yet to fulfill. Just know this, man. Like, you can do anything. Understand, I've said at the beginning of this episode, I come from nothing. My parents are grade 7, grade 9. Like, my brother, like, the biggest support, my brother. And the fact that my brother's still here, still with us, still in chat right now, fucking with his Opal Customs giving me love. Like, understand that, like, I found my purpose in life when I found a camera. And as I moved into my 50s, I found a new purpose in my life, which was still be a photographer, but start sharing everything that you know, everything. So that's what I've been doing, and I've been doing it wholeheartedly for the last 4 years. There's 870 odd videos on my channel, and I emphatically, passionately am committed to see more people become pros like me and live the kind of life that I have. Like, literally, that's all I want to do, is see more pros have the kind of experience that I have on a day-to-day basis. So that's my wish for you today, guys. Today is Thursday. We do a portfolio lab hangout on Thursdays in Zoom. If you are part of Portfolio Lab, or if you want to be a part of Portfolio Lab, go to thecardymethod.com/portfolio lab to join. Today's no different. I have my two aces, Nick and Garan, doing a lighting workshop for you, teaching you everything that you need to know about advanced light, studio light, light on location, So I'm very excited about that. So Nick and Garan are going to dissect some lighting. I'm going to pop in and out, but keep in mind, it's my birthday. I'm trying to do minimal work. I canceled all my meetings this week. Riviera, all the way from Puerto Rico. Thank you for your love, my guy. Thank you, Christopher. Mike Graves, you're crowned up, finally. Welcome. Appreciate you. So, and Raymond, thank you, my guy. You're really active in my comments. I appreciate you. Stevie K, thank you. Chris Jackson, thank you. Tori, Big Brother Les, Sedgwick. Brother, 22 months on my bro. Again, you see the support from my own brother. 22 months this guy's been supporting me. Longer. He's been watching me as long as I've been broadcasting, which is over 4 years now. My brother, it's like, and again, support your siblings, support your people. You know what I mean? It's important. Yeah, I wanted to do something special today. I wanted to really let you in on, number one, how early I started. I started early, 14. It's an insane age to start photography. But it doesn't matter when you start. What I also want you to hear is the commitment, because today I didn't talk about like all the times my business almost failed, because again, I get emotional about it. I actually get emotional, and you saw I almost teared up with my brother coming in chat today, because that time of my life when I was living with my brother in my early 20s was so pivotal and really like carved out and started this river. Like we did those first shovel troughs to carve out this path that is this career that I've had. It's crazy. It truly is crazy. Know this, man. I'm dedicated to helping you get to the next level. It means everything that you watch me. But know this, man. Competition on YouTube is so fierce. Competition is so fierce. And if you don't watch me, then I just disappear from your feed. If you don't share my content, if you don't clip it and tell your people or the photographers that follow you that I'm helping you, if you're not telling people about what I'm trying to do here, then I'm going to always be doing it for a very small window. If you tell people, I'm going to grow fast. And again, I do my best to tell everybody I'm consistent, but you can help me truly by just make a clip, share something, share a thing, or make a post about something that I've said. Like, all that just makes you look like a gangster, make you look like the expert, and helps me more than you can possibly know. Also, subscribing is absolutely free, but in order to subscribe, you have to be logged in when you're watching YouTube. When you log in, when you watch YouTube, it saves your watch history. It creates an algorithm for you, and it shows videos that you should probably watch. And then also you can subscribe to channels that you watch more often. So you don't have to be looking me up on YouTube. You don't have to be finding me. Remember, my channel is just youtube.com/Steve Carty. It's super easy to find me. And subscribing means that you get notified if you hit the bell as soon as I put up new content. And I go live Tuesday, Thursday, and Sunday. It's always at 12 p.m. Eastern time. I'm as consistent as they come. You can set a clock by my consistency. I'm going to South Africa, going to Cape Town in August 20th to the 31st. So during that time, there will be a little bit of lull, but I will be having my team helping. We might have a couple of weeks away from photo reviews, but I'm going to give you guys some bonuses, and we'll be back with extra when I return. That's not till next month. You don't have to stress about that. I will be back Sunday, everybody, with some dope-ass content, unless you guys want to ask me questions. I saw some focus questions about trying to get the eyes and the ears both in focus in portraits when you're shooting with longer lenses. Saw a couple of questions there, but again, my team is also quick to be there and answer. Understand this, I'm in a founders group with a bunch of massive founders, and one of the rules in that group is you're only allowed to talk about things that you've actually experienced. You're only allowed to talk about things that you've actually experienced, and you're not allowed to give a theory on something. You're only allowed to talk about, from my experience, this is what happened to me. So with these founders, it becomes incredibly hard to like talk about something that you want to do. You're only allowed to talk about something that you've done. So it forces you to actually do something, and then you can go and talk about it. But that keeps you in the present tense, and you can't be worried about possible scenarios that have never happened before. You can be preventative, of course, but you can't live in a place where you're like, oh my God, what if they don't like my photos? You know, just be undeniable. Guys, I hope today found you helpful. I'm not even making good sentences anymore. It just means that I've been on camera for too long. Guys, I hope you found today helpful. There's going to be a blog post on Saturday. You can sign up for my weekly newsletter on Substack. I put out a post every Saturday. It's super simple, stevecarty.substack.com. I'm just going to show you it right now so you have it in your eye holes. Right here, stevecarty.substack.com. That is the Carty Method Substack. I'll post it in chat for y'all. Go subscribe. I put out very, very, very good content here. It is the written word, a little bit different than what you're used to seeing from me in, let's say, YouTube. But I also, my audio podcast, I have my audio podcast here, which goes out to Spotify and Apple Podcasts. But if you miss Sunday episodes or you want to listen to them, you can watch them there. All right, guys, I'm now just starting to get into plugs. So please consider to hit the join button. That's something that makes me happy. And I'm trying to get 1,000 fans here. We're at 170 something. I think we might have crossed 100 and, oh, we're at 183. Trying to get to at least 200. We'll start there. Help me get to 200. Guys, if you've watched this and it helped you, one of my stories brought you life, leave me a comment. Thank you for being here on my birthday. Thank you for all of the birthday wishes. Every single person here who said happy birthday to me, I appreciate you. I could not really, there's no point in doing this without you. You realize there's no point in doing this without you. So you guys keep coming and you guys keep showing up. And I promise you, I will keep showing up until my final day, until I'm 80. And I'm like, let's do photo reviews. Guys, thanks for being here. Appreciate you so much.
This commercial-free live stream was brought to you by the members of this channel. If it wasn't for you, we'd have to fill up these live streams with ads that would just interrupt the flow. The members of this channel make commercial-free content during these live streams possible. Consider becoming a member for $5 a month today to gain access to secret live streams, live chats, and to show your support with that crown badge next to your name. Sharing is caring. If this content has brought you value today, share it, clip it, post it to your socials. Curating and sharing helpful content makes you an expert, even if the content you're sharing isn't yours. Be a curator and share this content with your network. If you're an emerging or struggling photographer that's trying to break free from your current 9-to-5 grind and transition to the life of a working pro photographer, that's our obsession here at the Carty Method. Register, get the support you need. If you're alone and struggling at this craft, make sure you join the Carty Method community. You'll always find help in the show notes. Subscribe on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. Find your creative and business genius with the Carty Method.